The house that Silence built. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. Cream-colored, expensive paper. Morgan Davis held it between her fingers, feeling the weight of expectation pressing through the cardstock. Her sister Valerie's perfect calligraphy spelled out the invitation. You are cordially invited to our annual Davis family Thanksgiving celebration. Morgan's 8-year-old daughter, Emma, peered over her shoulder. Are we going to Grandma's house this year? The question landed like a stone in still water. Morgan set the envelope on the kitchen counter, face down. We'll see, sweetheart. But she already knew the answer. She'd known it for years, really. Known it in the way you know a bruise is forming before the color shows, in the way you sense rain before the first drop falls. She picked up her phone and called her mother. Morgan, darling. Patricia Davis's voice was warm, practiced. You got the invitation. I did. I wanted to confirm, should I bring the kids? A pause. Not long, maybe 3 seconds. But in that silence, Morgan heard everything. Well, you know how it is, sweetheart. The house is just so packed this year. Valerie's bringing the twins, and they need so much space with all their equipment, soccer gear, you know how active they are. And Christine is bringing Baxter. Baxter is a dog, Mom. A small dog. He barely takes up any room at all. Her mother's laugh tinkled like wind chimes, delicate and hollow. It's just that with Uncle Raymond's family and the Hendersons coming, we're absolutely bursting at the seams. Maybe it would be easier if you came alone this year. The kids would probably be bored anyway. You know how these adult gatherings are. Morgan looked at Emma, who was watching her with those wide, trusting eyes that still believed the world was fair, that family meant belonging. The kids would probably be bored, Morgan repeated slowly. At a family celebration? You understand, don't you, dear? It's nothing personal, it's just logistics. Logistics. She'd heard that word before. She'd heard it last Christmas when there wasn't room for her 10-year-old son, Tyler, and Emma at the gift exchange. She'd heard it at Easter when the egg hunt was too crowded for her children, but somehow accommodated Valerie's twins, Christine's 2 boys, and yes, Baxter the cockapoo, who'd apparently needed his own basket of treats. She'd heard it at 4th of July cookouts, birthday parties, Sunday dinners. Always logistics, never the truth. I understand perfectly. Mom, Morgan said quietly. I'll come alone. After she hung up, Emma tugged her sleeve. Mommy, are we going? Morgan knelt down, eye level with her daughter. Emma had her father's dark curls, his gentle disposition. Tyler had Morgan's stubborn chin, her green eyes that saw too much. You and Tyler are going to have your own special Thanksgiving this year, Morgan said, keeping her voice bright. We'll make whatever you want. Pizza, tacos, ice cream for dinner? Emma's face lit up. Children are so easy to redirect, to distract from hurt. But Morgan saw the shadow behind her smile. The same shadow that had been growing there for years, the accumulated weight of being unwanted by people who were supposed to love you unconditionally. That night, after the kids were asleep, Morgan sat alone at her kitchen table in the small rental house they'd called home for the past 3 years. The house with thin walls and a landlord who ignored repair requests. The house that was never quite warm enough in winter, never quite cool enough in summer. The house where her children were always welcome. She pulled out her laptop and opened the folder she'd been building for 6 months. Spreadsheets of savings, mortgage pre-approval letters, real estate listings she'd bookmarked, each one carefully selected for specific criteria. 4 bedrooms minimum, a big backyard, a kitchen large enough to hold everyone she loved. Morgan had been planning this quietly, methodically, while her family assumed she was struggling. Single mother, working full-time as a medical billing specialist, barely scraping by, she'd been watching every penny, building her credit, preparing. She'd been doing what her family never expected of her. She'd been building an empire out of their dismissal. Morgan could trace it back to her wedding day, 12 years ago. She'd married Daniel Chen, a kind man with a brilliant mind and no prestigious family name. Her parents had smiled through the ceremony, but her mother had whispered to Valerie, loud enough for Morgan to overhear, well, at least she found someone. Daniel had died 4 years ago. Heart attack at 35, sudden and devastating. In the aftermath, Morgan had expected her family to close ranks around her, to hold her up the way families were supposed to. Instead, they'd closed ranks without her. The shift was subtle at first. Valerie would plan sister lunches and forget to invite her. Christine would post family photos on social media. Everyone gathered at their parents' house, and Morgan would discover she simply hadn't been informed of the gathering. "We didn't want to burden you," her mother explained. "You have so much on your plate with the children and work. We thought you needed rest, not obligations." But Valerie was invited, and she had twin boys and a demanding career as a corporate lawyer. Christine was invited, and she was managing her own online business while raising 2 sons. The difference, Morgan understood, was that Valerie had married Richard Henderson, whose father owned half the commercial real estate in town. Christine had married Bradley Morrison, a surgeon. They lived in the right neighborhoods, drove the right cars, and had the right kind of exhaustion, the kind that came from too many ski trips and charity galas, not from choosing between fixing the car or buying new winter coats. Morgan had married for love, and after Daniel's death, she'd been left with 2 children, a mountain of medical debt, and a family that suddenly found her inconvenient. The exclusions became more pointed. Tyler's 9th birthday, Morgan had planned a small party at a local park. Her mother claimed she had a conflicting engagement. Valerie sent a gift card with an impersonal note. Christine didn't acknowledge it at all. 2 weeks later, Valerie's twins turned 7, and the family threw a massive celebration at the country club. Morgan wasn't invited until the day before with a casual text, "Oh, if you're free tomorrow, you can stop by the party for a bit." Just you, though, it's more of an adult event. 7-year-olds? An adult event? Emma's dance recital. Morgan invited everyone. Christine texted back, "Can't make it. The boys have soccer." Christine, "Baxter has a vet appointment." Her parents, "We're tired, sweetheart. Maybe next time." But when Valerie's twins had a soccer tournament, the entire family showed up with custom t-shirts and a banner. Morgan stopped inviting them. It was easier than collecting rejections like poisoned gifts. What hurt more than her own exclusion was watching her children realize, slowly, that they mattered less than other grandchildren, less than cousins, less than a dog. Tyler had asked once why Grandma always had pictures of the twins on her refrigerator, but none of him and Emma. "She loves all her grandchildren," Morgan had said, the lie bitter on her tongue. "Then why doesn't she want to see us?" Morgan had no answer that wouldn't break her son's heart more than it was already broken. The truth crystallized at her father's 70th birthday party last spring. The invitations specified adults only, venue limitations. Morgan had arrived in her nicest dress, 3 years old but still presentable, and walked into a country club ballroom filled with her entire extended family, including children. Valerie's twins ran past her, chasing each other around tables. Christine's boys were at the dessert bar, stacking macarons. Even Baxter was there, wearing a bow tie, sitting in a custom dog bed under the gift table. Morgan's mother appeared beside her, champagne in hand. "Morgan, I'm so glad you could make it." "You said it was adults only." Morgan's voice was flat. "Well, yes, but, the grandchildren wanted to be here. We couldn't exclude them. It's their grandfather's birthday. Tyler and Emma are his grandchildren, too." Her mother's face tightened. "Morgan, don't make a scene. This venue has limited space. We had to make difficult choices about the guest list." "But there was room for Baxter. The dog?" Her mother laughed. "Christine would have been devastated without him. You know how attached she is." Morgan looked around the spacious ballroom, at the tables that could have easily accommodated 2 more children, at the family that had chosen a dog over her kids. She'd stayed for exactly 1 hour, long enough to wish her father happy birthday, long enough to not be accused of rudeness. Then she'd left and driven home to the babysitter and her children, who'd asked eagerly if she'd taken pictures of the party. It wasn't very interesting, nothing worth photographing. That night, she'd made the decision. She would stop trying to fit her children into spaces that rejected them. She would stop shrinking herself to accommodate people who found her inconvenient. She would stop hoping that maybe, eventually, her family would realize what they were doing. Instead, she would build something new. She would build a place where her children would never, ever be told they didn't belong. Recognition. The house hunting took 3 months. Morgan was meticulous. She drove through neighborhoods on weekends while the kids were at playdates, studying street layouts, school districts, the way light fell through trees. She attended open houses alone, taking notes, comparing. Her real estate agent, Teresa Martinez, was a godsend, a woman who understood exactly what Morgan was looking for without needing elaborate explanations. "You want room," Teresa said after their third viewing. "Not just square footage. Room for life to expand. Room for people together." "Yes," Morgan breathed. "Exactly that." They found it in August, a 4-bedroom craftsman with a wraparound porch built in 1924 and recently renovated. Hardwood floors that glowed like honey, a kitchen with white marble countertops, and enough space for 3 people to cook simultaneously. A dining room with built-in shelves and a table that could seat 12. The backyard was Morgan's favorite part. A 1/4 acre with mature oak trees, a level lawn perfect for soccer or tag, or simply sprawling in the grass on summer afternoons. There was a deck for grilling, space for a fire pit, room for a garden, room for children to run and play and belong. The price was steep, at the absolute top of her budget, but Morgan had been saving aggressively for years. She'd worked overtime, taken on freelance projects, cut expenses to the bone. Every dollar that didn't go to immediate survival went into her house fund. She'd done it quietly, not because she was ashamed, but because she learned that her dreams were safer when she didn't share them with people who might convince her they were impossible. The closing was scheduled for early October. Morgan told Tyler and Emma the night before, sitting them down in their cramped living room. "We're moving," she said simply. "I bought us a house." Tyler's eyes went wide. "A house? Like, we'll own it?" "We'll own it." Emma bounced on the couch. "Can I have my own room without sharing with Tyler?" "You'll each have your own room, and there's a backyard." "A backyard?" Tyler looked stunned. They'd lived in apartments and rentals his entire life, places with parking lots and shared laundry facilities, never anything as luxurious as private outdoor space. Morgan pulled up photos on her phone, watching her children's faces transform as they swiped through images of their new home. "When do we move?" Tyler asked. 2 weeks. She didn't tell her family. Not immediately. She was too busy packing, coordinating movers, handling the 1,000 details of transitioning from renter to homeowner. She was too busy painting Emma's room pale purple, setting up Tyler's space with shelves for his growing book collection, arranging furniture and rooms that finally felt like theirs. The first dinner in their new house was pizza, Morgan's promise from months ago, fulfilled. They ate at their new dining table, just the 3 of them, and Morgan felt something shift in her chest. Peace. Belonging. Home. 2 weeks after moving in, she posted a single photo to social media, her children on the front porch, grinning, caption reading simply, "New chapter." Her phone started ringing within an hour. Her mother called first. "Morgan, you bought a house? Why didn't you tell us? We could have helped you move." "I was in my kitchen arranging dishes in cabinets that actually closed properly." "It was pretty last minute. We managed fine." "A house? Can you believe it, Patricia? Our Morgan bought a house." "We need to see it. When can we come over? Is Sunday good? We'll bring brunch." "Sunday doesn't work. We're still settling in." "Next weekend then?" "Oh, Morgan, I'm so excited. A proper house. Maybe you could host Thanksgiving this year. You have the space now." Morgan's hand tightened around the phone. "Maybe. I'll let you know." Valerie texted, "Mom says you bought a house? Why am I finding out from her and not you? Christine called. OMG, a house? Can I bring the boys over? They'd love to see it. And Baxter, he needs socialization with kids. For days, her phone buzzed with messages. Her family, suddenly desperate to be included in this part of her life, suddenly interested in her home, her space, her room. Morgan responded politely, but vaguely. She was busy. She'd let them know. Maybe after the holidays. The truth was, she wasn't ready to let them in. She'd built this space, literally, financially, emotionally, without them. She'd created a sanctuary where her children would never be afterthoughts, where they'd never be told they didn't fit, where they'd never be less important than someone else's dog. And she wasn't sure she wanted to share it with people who'd made her children feel small. Thanksgiving approached. The invitation arrived, this time a text message from her mother. Obviously, you'll host Thanksgiving. Your house is so much bigger than ours. Can't wait to see it. Morgan stared at the message for a long time. The audacity was breathtaking. For years, there hadn't been room for her children. Now, suddenly, her house was the perfect venue. She typed out 3 different responses, deleted them all, and finally settled on, I've already made other plans. Her mother called immediately. Other plans? What other plans? Morgan, it's Thanksgiving. We always spend it together as a family. Actually, Mom, I haven't spent Thanksgiving with you in years. You've told me there wasn't room for my kids. Oh, don't be dramatic. That was just, we had space constraints. But now you have this beautiful house. It's perfect for hosting. We can all be together. We were never all together. My children were never included. Morgan, really? You're being oversensitive. The kids never minded. They minded. They've always minded. They just stopped saying anything because they learned that their feelings didn't matter to you. Silence on the other end. Then, that's not fair, isn't it? We love Tyler and Emma. They're our grandchildren. You have a funny way of showing it. Her mother's voice turned cold. I don't appreciate your tone. After everything we've done for you? What exactly have you done for me, Mom? In the last 4 years, since Daniel died, what have you done except make excuses for why my children aren't welcome? We've been supportive. You've been absent. There's a difference. Morgan hung up. Her hands were shaking. She'd never spoken to her mother that way before. Never pushed back. Never challenged. Never demanded acknowledgement of the hurt they'd caused. It felt terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. That evening, Valerie showed up at her door unannounced. Morgan answered with Emma clinging to her side, curious about the visitor. Can we talk? Valerie said, her expression tight. I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me. What's up? Mom is upset. She says you're uninviting us to Thanksgiving. I never invited you. She invited herself. Don't be petty, Morgan. It's the holidays. We're family. Morgan crossed her arms. Were we family when there wasn't room for my kids at Easter, at Christmas, at every single gathering you've had for the past 4 years? Valerie flushed. That's different. How? Explain to me how it's different. Logistics were complicated. Stop saying logistics. Say what you mean. Say that my kids weren't important enough. Say that you didn't want them there because I'm not successful enough, not wealthy enough, not connected enough for you to bother. That's not true. Then what is true, Valerie? Her sister struggled, mouth opening and closing. Finally, you always make everything so difficult. I made it easy. I stayed quiet. I accepted your excuses. I stopped asking why I wasn't included. That's as easy as it gets. What you mean is I'm making it difficult now by having boundaries. You're being selfish. I'm protecting my children. If that's selfish, fine. I'll be selfish. Valerie left angry. Christine called later that night, trying the sympathetic approach. I understand you're hurt, but maybe you're overreacting. But Morgan held firm. She wasn't overreacting. She was finally reacting proportionally to years of accumulated dismissal. Conclusion. Thanksgiving morning dawned cold and clear. Morgan woke early and started cooking. Not an elaborate feast. She'd learned years ago that she didn't need to prove anything with complicated recipes. Instead, she made Tyler's favorite roasted chicken, Emma's beloved macaroni and cheese, green beans almondine, and an apple pie from scratch. At noon, her doorbell rang. She opened it to find her neighbor, Janet Chen, Daniel's aunt who'd stayed in Morgan's life after his death when his parents had drifted away. Janet was holding a casserole dish and smiling. "Room for one more?" "Always," Morgan said. Her friend Rachel arrived next, with her 2 kids who were Emma and Tyler's best friends. Then came Marcus from work and his wife, who'd been kind to Morgan during her hardest days. Her friend's mother, who'd been recently widowed. The couple down the street who'd helped her move in. 10 people around her dining table. Easy conversation, laughter. Children running through rooms that welcomed them, sprawling in the backyard, despite the cold, faces flushed with joy. This was family, not blood, choice. People who showed up, people who made room. Around 4 p.m., her doorbell rang again. Her parents stood on the porch. Her mother held a pie. Her father looked uncomfortable. "Morgan," her mother said, "can we come in?" Morgan stepped onto the porch, pulling the door closed behind her, not inviting them in, not yet. "What are you doing here?" "It's Thanksgiving. We hoped, maybe we could talk." Her father cleared his throat. "Your mother told me about your conversation. Morgan, I'm sorry. We should have done better." The apology stunned her. Her father rarely admitted fault. "You should have," Morgan agreed quietly. Her mother's eyes were red. "I didn't realize, I knew you were hurt, but I didn't understand how much, how it felt for the children." "What changed? Why do you suddenly tear now?" Her face crumpled. "Because Valerie told me what you said, about not being successful enough, not being important enough. And I realized, God, Morgan, I realized that's exactly what we made you feel. We got so caught up in appearances, in keeping up with the Hendersons and the Morrisons, that we forgot what actually matters. Your grandchildren matter," Morgan said, her voice steady despite the emotion building in her throat. "Tyler and Emma matter. They've always mattered. They should have always been welcome." "You're right." Her father's voice was gruff. "We were wrong. We let status and space and stupid reasons get in the way of what's important. Can you forgive us?" Morgan looked at them. These imperfect people who'd raised her, who'd failed her, who were maybe, finally, seeing their mistakes. "I don't know yet," she said honestly. "You hurt my kids. You made them feel like they weren't good enough. They didn't belong in their own family. That's not something I can just forgive because you showed up with a pie." "We understand," her mother whispered. "But," Morgan continued, "if you want to try, if you actually want to be part of their lives, really part of it, not just when it's convenient, maybe we can figure it out." "We do," her father said. "We want to try." Morgan nodded slowly. "Then here's what happens. You don't get to show up whenever you feel like it and expect to be welcomed. You earn that. You show up for the kids' events. You remember their birthdays. You make them feel wanted, not as an afterthought, but on purpose." "We will," her mother said. "I promise we will. And if you ever make them feel less important than anyone else again, we're done. No second chances. I won't let them be hurt like that anymore." "We understand." Morgan looked back at her house, warm with light and life. "There are people here, friends. We're having dinner." "We can go," her mother started. "No, you can come in if you want. You can meet the people who were there for us when you weren't. You can see what family actually looks like." She opened the door. Her parents stepped inside hesitantly. Tyler looked up from the living room floor where he was playing cards with Rachel's kids. His eyes widened seeing his grandparents. "Grandma? Grandpa?" Emma ran over. "Are you staying for dinner?" Morgan's mother knelt down, tears streaming now. "If your mom says we can, sweetheart. If you want us to." Emma looked at Morgan, that same trusting expression, waiting for guidance. "It's up to you guys," Morgan said softly. "Do you want them to stay?" Tyler and Emma exchanged glances, that wordless sibling communication that always amazed her. Tyler said finally, "But you have to meet Mr. Marcus. He's really funny. And Miss Rachel brought her famous cookies. They're better than anything." Morgan's parents stayed. They were awkward at first, clearly uncomfortable with the casual intimacy of mismatched people who'd chosen each other. But gradually, they softened. Her father talked football with Marcus. Her mother helped serve pie. They listened to Tyler explain his latest book obsession and watched Emma demonstrate a new dance move. They were trying. It might not be enough. Time would tell. Morgan had learned that apologies meant nothing without changed behavior, that intentions mattered less than actions. But it was a start. After dinner, after her parents left with tentative promises to attend Emma's next dance recital, after her friends helped clean up and departed with hugs and leftover pie, Morgan sat alone in her living room. The house was quiet now, but it held echoes of the day. Laughter in the walls, warmth in the corners, the particular peace that comes from being exactly where you're supposed to be. Tyler and Emma were upstairs in their own rooms, in spaces that were completely, unquestionably theirs. Morgan had built this. Not just the house, though that was concrete proof of what she'd achieved, but this sense of belonging, of safety, of worth. She'd done it by refusing to keep shrinking herself to fit into spaces that rejected her, by building her own space instead. The real victory wasn't the house itself. It was the knowledge that her children would grow up understanding that they deserved space, that they deserved welcome, that if the table they were offered didn't have room for them, they could build their own damn table and invite whoever they wanted. Morgan's phone buzzed. A text from Valerie. "Can we talk? Really talk?" Morgan looked at it for a long moment. Then she set the phone aside. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe next week. Maybe eventually. But tonight, she was exactly where she needed to be. In the house that silence built. In the space that rejection created. In the home that hurt had taught her to imagine. A home with room enough for everyone who'd earned the right to be there, and all the room in the world for the two people who mattered most. Epilogue. 6 months later, Morgan stood in her kitchen preparing for Tyler's 11th birthday party. The house was full. Kids from school, neighborhood friends, Rachel's family, and yes, her parents, who'd shown up early to help set up, who'd remembered to bring the specific brand of balloons Tyler loved, who'd asked Emma what she wanted to do for her birthday next month, who were trying. Valerie came too, without Richard, bringing her twins who actually played with Tyler and Emma now. Real play, not obligatory cousin interaction. Christine sent a gift with a note. "Still working on myself. Maybe next time." Morgan appreciated the honesty. The party was chaos. The good kind. The kind that comes from children feeling safe enough to be loud, to take up space, to exist fully without apology. At one point, her mother appeared beside her at the counter. "Thank you," Patricia said quietly. "For what?" "For not giving up on us completely. For giving us a chance to do better." Morgan looked at her mother, really looked at her. She saw an imperfect person who'd made terrible choices, who'd hurt people she loved through thoughtlessness and status-seeking and 1,000 small cruelties. She also saw someone trying to change. "You're welcome," Morgan said. "But I didn't do it for you. I did it for them." She gestured toward the living room, where Tyler was laughing at something his grandfather had said, where Emma was showing her grandmother a drawing. They deserved grandparents who loved them. "You're finally becoming those grandparents." Her mother nodded, understanding the implication. This was conditional, contingent on continued effort. Morgan was done with unconditional acceptance of unacceptable behavior. She'd learned that love without boundaries wasn't love. It was just the path of least resistance, and she'd spent enough years taking that path. Now, she walked a different one she'd built herself, board by board, boundary by boundary, honest conversation by honest conversation. It was harder. It was also infinitely better. Because at the end of the path was this: a house full of laughter, children who knew they belonged, a space that welcomed anyone who truly wanted to be there. And nothing, not family obligation, not guilt, not the weight of old patterns, could take that away. Morgan had finally learned what her mother never taught her. Sometimes the most important room you can create isn't physical. It's the room in your life for people who actually value being there, and the courage to close the door on those who don't.